Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
You're watching a Fact TV presentation of the Town of Brookline Select Board meeting.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, very good. Good evening. This is the Brookline regular select board meeting for July 5th, 2023 here at Town Hall. It is the first meeting of our new fiscal year for 2023-24. Present in the room are select board members, Stan Noga, Bruce Mello, Dot Maggio, and Paul, I want to say Paul
No, Madeline's
Madelinsky.
not the way.
No, Paul Madelinsky, our recording clerk, Vanessa Ballou, and our highway supervisor, Mark Bills. On Zoom, we have Miss Marjorie Ray, who is a member of the scheduled member of the public that will speak within a few minutes. Okay. And the time is, I have 6:36 p.m.
Marjorie, how do you spell your last name? Is it R-A-E or R-A-Y?
R-A-Y.
I put R-A-E everywhere I see it. I don't know why. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I put R-A-E everywhere.
I wasn't sure. Your bravery, I appreciate.
I don't know why. Okay, any changes to the agenda at this time?
Yes.
Bruce,
Okay, first I'd like to remove 11.
you'd like to go down to item 11. Executive session if warranted, if there's a specific motion, but okay, we don't have one warranted, okay.
Okay.
So we're saying no executive session.
Yes. And then I'd like to table 6C and 7F.
And 7F. I tell you what,
Finish.
you have another thing to table before I go make a second and then we get a discussion about why and then vote on it.
What was I here to say? Just those two.
You asked to table items 6C and 7F.
Mhm.
I can second that motion. Now we'll go into discussion. Why would you like to?
Okay,
have
I would
that?
like to do those two issues at a special select board meeting agreement with all select board members, maybe next week in the late afternoon, because it's too much and I have a bunch of new information that I found out. And I feel that ARPA and FEMA should be discussed separately in one meeting. Nothing more.
Okay.
As long as 100% of the select board agrees to do it, that can come.
Oh, you need,
Oh, and I didn't finish, excuse me, with no vote at the time, just to discuss those two articles.
special meeting, you can vote.
Pardon?
In a special meeting, you can make a, you can vote.
I know, but I'm just saying those articles, I won't have them up for vote, just for discussion.
Okay,
We can vote with the intent that everybody takes the information, thinks about it, and then the following week we have a select board meeting and we can vote on what we talk about.
all right, so Bruce, I seconded a motion to table two items that you mentioned, discussion on excavator and ARPA funds, but you don't want to have a true special meeting because you don't want to vote on
That's correct.
it. Any other
I'm
discussion?
sorry about not knowing the designation of the difference. Is it just a regular select board meeting then?
It's a regular select board meeting, it's just.
Okay,
it's
it's not a
just not-
special.
It's a special select board meeting, which means that it's not held on the first or third Wednesday.
Oh, okay, then it is a special select board meeting. Okay, because you were pertaining to the vote as a characterization of how that would change the designation of it. I misunderstood.
I'm really confused. right
Okay,
now.
I'll be real specific. I want to table 6C and 7F
To be
well,
discussed.
to be discussed at a special meeting, hopefully
dedicated
next
to it.
week, if everybody agrees about 100%, not to vote on those articles, just discussion of those articles because of all the information that I had come up with in the past week to 10 days.
Okay, any other discussion?
I am not in favor of doing that. We have had 2 weeks to process this since the last select board meeting. We've reflected on this over the last 2-year period, possibly even more. 2 years ago, I gave a brief overview without an awful lot of detail as to which route appeared to be the best and which did not. And looking at the fact that the current lease agreement is costing the town $1,650 per week for every week that this does not proceed. I'm not sure that looking at this as another 2 or 3 weeks, we're at the end of 3 weeks, about $4,800 more in expense than needs to have happen. I had sent out to everybody the day after the last select board meeting figures regarding this scenario, as proposed last time in the last select board meeting, and summarized those based on standard operating private financing, some of which I had talked about again 2 years ago. And looking at the simple interest methodology, which provides us with flexibility in our budget. We wouldn't have a $3,318 payment to be made every month, regardless of what the town's financial condition was at that time. We'd have the year to make the one payment per year on a simple interest basis. And there are other things that we hadn't talked about that when you look at this, I've been sitting this afternoon at my house and saying, what have I not thought of? Trying to be helpful for everybody around the table to be able to discern what methodology would be the best for the town and the cheapest. And aside from the fact that the simple interest methodology saves the town $20,000, and I personally have a hard time going another route and trying to explain why I would rather have the people of Brookline pay an additional $20,000 over an alternative, over the route that we've already been approved for. I don't know what other possibilities there are that would sway us in another direction. And if there had been information gathered over the last couple of weeks, it would simply be, as I did, simply look at the facts. We can't discuss. I sent facts. If anyone wants to look at there being an error or incorrection, be happy to sit down with that person or any other person to talk about it. I don't see the need for delay. For the tune of $4,800, basically is what it amounts to, it sounds like, with no action. And I feel personally awkward because I had approached the loan committee for the state with the assumption that we had gone beyond the due date and we were going to pursue this. And that was not brought up and questioned at any point in the last 9 or 10 months. No one said, no, we're not going to do that, or I've got another alternative, you know, so I'm saying no, and those are the reasons I'm saying, I'm not just arbitrary, mean or anything like
I
that.
understand. I'm gonna ask Paul, and then I have some things to say as well.
Well, I don't have any problem with going for the meeting.
The reason why I would like to table it is because I think we have not only a discussion about the funding with the excavator, we have the discussion about the funding with ARPA, and I also think we have to discuss some funding issues of possibly looking at doing a loan in anticipation of taxes to cover the FEMA work, because our tax schedule is not going to be ready for processing in August. And so the collection of taxes from our townspeople will not occur on time this year. And so because there is a lot of financial, and because we have 2 new select board members who were not privy to previous discussions, that it might be best to wait 5 days or Tuesday, whatever, to wait until the beginning of next week so that we can actually just focus on funding. The ARPA funds, which I'm not sure if Paul and Samara have a handle on what we've spent and what we got. The excavator options, and I agree with Stan that I do think that the state funding is the way to go, but still to understand it. And again, when my research with FEMA, doing a loan in anticipation of taxes this is the first week of our new fiscal year. And so we have to collect taxes 4 times a year. First time's not going to be until September. And if any of these FEMA jobs get started in July or August, we don't have any money to pay for it. So we're going to have to get a loan. So I think these are things that we could continue on.
Does
So-
that require a special vote by the citizens at a special town meeting?
No, it's just not in anticipation of taxes. It's a loan and that's what schools do right now, because
Yeah.
schools have to provide for their
It's not mentioned.
anticipation of taxes.
Yeah.
So, so at this point, with that information, anything else? Mr.
Yeah, I have new
Professional, before I
information
call
to
the
present
vote?
at that meeting. That I have new information to present at that meeting, which is a little on the lengthy side. That supports the reason for why I want to table the two articles for that.
I do have a question about this, though. I mean, Stan has made a case for expediting this decision. And why can't there be a decision made at this special meeting?
You can make a decision. I don't know why
Okay.
you didn't want to make it.
But the only reason why I did that, because I thought, given the amount of information I was going to give you, that maybe you might want to digest it until.
Can you send it to us before that meeting?
Yeah.
I haven't got it complete yet. I'll think about that.
Well, I mean, we have to be prepared. You know, if
Okay.
you're asking for a special meeting and people are preparing things, coming to meetings prepared, ready to act tonight, and you're asking for a delay, you need to have us ready to act on the next meeting.
Okay, I think I can do that.
Because
That's a
I would prefer
compromise.
to get it settled, one way or another.
Right.
Like Stan's made a point,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna have my points. But it's up to the select board to digest the whole thing. And my whole intention, like I said, was just to give everybody the opportunity to think about it a little bit. Because there's major decisions here. We're
Well, I
talking
think
about
we
spending
need to have-
$60,000. We're talking about coming up with $60,000. We're talking about everything that you were talking about. Also have some other information that I haven't even gotten into that would, that broadens the whole thing. I'm not playing games. I've got some.
don't
I know, I
think
think you
you're
were saying
playing
that. I'm not I'm not saying that you're saying that. I'm just specifically saying that I've
Okay.
got new information that I think everybody should
Mm-hmm.
think about before we make this. One last thing, very critical for all votes. This is $62,000 we have to come up with in order to buy that thing under the municipal law. So I'm gonna create choices and new information, like I said, for you all to.
But I wish we
Consider.
would have had this a little earlier, because
I'm
as
not
Dan
complete.
said, we have been
Well,
playing
there's-
around with this.
Sorry, I got a few more things that I'm looking into, people I'm talking to qualify other ideas about what I'm talking.
Okay, and.
So it's not complete, and I haven't gotten it because of the holiday week.
And I am, I do want to make sure that Paul and Samara are really comfortable and up to date on things, because they came in a little bit late. All right,
That was one of the main reasons why I suggested we just digest it for 4 or 5 days until the following meeting. But if
Yeah,
every-
but
I'm
I
good.
agree with
I'm good.
Dan.
I'm
We
good.
don't need 5 days, I mean.
Well, that's up to you all.
Yeah.
I know where my head's at. I just
I
want to make
think
sure everybody else is
some of us
comfortable.
are ready to make a decision tonight. So to ask for a week and then another week is a little pushy.
Okay,
And just to explain one more, and this will not be my last comment about this issue. I don't want to go on any longer, and we've already been, which is too long. Is that it has always been 75% or 110,000, whichever is lower. And if the down payment isn't something that's palatable, maybe we ought to look for a cheaper piece of equipment. If that dollar amount, that was an option way back.
Yeah, right now we just have ours, and we have a 6-month rental. and we're-
Yeah,
we're
I know,
set with
I know.
I share with the experience, so believe me, I like that. So we'll see what happens.
All right, we have a motion and a second to table the discussions and financial discussions on the 4-wheeled excavator, ARPA funds. And I want to also say some FEMA funding at some point.
Yes.
Well, it's not on the calendar, it's not on here. For another date and time. All those in favor of tabling those items for a special select board meeting, date and time to be established after a motion is made, if it passes.
Give it time.
It's been a long
Yeah.
Yeah.
already.
All those in favor of tabling those items to a date and time early next week signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
One opposed. Tamara is not here. The motion passes 3-1. Is there a date and time next week that would work? Today is the 5th of July. I have no current, I can't believe I'm saying this. I have no current appointments at this time that I can
No.
recall.
This is another dimension.
No, the only thing I have is 9 o'clock on next Wednesday morning, but that won't affect anything. for me.
Other than the cardio
Tuesday.
rehab, Monday, Wednesday and Friday, I'm out, you know, those time
I
frames.
was thinking like, my idea was like 4:30 in the afternoon, just before dinner. It's up to you. all.
I'm flexible.
4:30 on
I
Tuesday?
can't speak to tomorrow's schedule, but
We can set the
I mean,
change.
4:30 on Tuesday is fine with me.
And this is a special. select
Special
board meeting, so
meeting,
you-
we'll do an agenda, and it will, I'll let back TV, it will be just like tonight,
Okay.
it will be televised. I don't know if Vanessa, if you can't make it, you can zoom in, if you can't, we'll do minutes ourselves.
I think I can make it.
Okay. That was the
What,
idea.
what is the date? Catherine?
That would be
The 11th?
the
Oh,
11th,
what do you mean?
July 11th,
7-11.
Yeah.
Oh, how is that working for me?
okay.
We'll see.
All right, so change it to the agenda or tabling new business items 6A and 7F until a special meeting at 4:30 on July 11th here at Town Hall. Okay, thank you. Members of the public. Schedule. We have with us Marjorie Ray, our Brookline resident, who I sent out to you earlier this month. Her proposal for a website redesign. As you are aware, our current website is going to be totally without service or backup. It's starting in November of 2023. We've been talking about we can't upload the Energy Committee minutes because the site is full pretty much. And so we have in front of us a website redesign proposal. And
I didn't know that you were out of space. That's news.
well, I don't know what guy was saying he can't fit it into the website, so.
It makes sense, though. It makes sense that it would be full because you're uploading PDFs and after a while that becomes a lot of information to be online. You know, that it's just something I'll think about, but you may want to change how, that's why the Google Workspace would probably be really good for you because then you could store it there on Google Drive. It's just an option that I might recommend upon that information.
You know what, if you wouldn't mind, we spoke on the phone and you enlightened me, you want to just summarize what your proposal is and we have.
Yeah.
What
What I'll say now is a little different than what the proposal is sort of more the specifications of what I'm going to do. And right now, I just want to quickly say the overview is, you know, basically the site, you're like paralyzed because you can't even fix if I tried to go and help him recently. He had deleted something and we couldn't even bring it back on. I don't even know, you might have backups going, but we wouldn't even know how to reinstall a backup right now with that site. You don't have anybody that you can call. The person that built it really isn't interested in helping anymore. So like she wasn't able to help with that one question for how to fix the thing that had been deleted. So a new site would basically just make it so that more people could log in. If you wanted to be someone that logged in sometimes just to add an agenda, that could easily happen. It wouldn't be this thing where only one person can log in. We could redesign the homepage to make it, you know, more attractive, more welcoming. we could even add content that might be more engaging, like that recent marriage. The Nystrom couple got married. They were a third generation married at the meeting house. Just things like that might be nice to have, you know, on the site somewhere, a little bit more about what Brookline is about, a little bit more, you know, taste of our town. I think more photography. I would love to add more photography, make it so that it's easy to edit a page if you need to, or just sections of the site are real. It's a very complicated site. It's UMass uses that Drupal. Like that's the level of skill set, you know, and I would change it to WordPress, which just is, you know, 50% of the web uses WordPress. A lot of people know WordPress, and it, in certain places, it's just like a word editor or Google Doc, you know, for how you could enter in the information. So I'd like to help you get set up on Google Workspace for your email and your Google Docs. We could maybe do a workflow where the links for the agenda just go to the Google Drive. I currently work on 4 different sites that have minutes, and they all do it differently. So I can't say what is the best way to do it, but certainly I can give you ideas for, you know, what you're comfortable with, what works best for you guys as far as organizing the content.
I like the idea that there'd be more than one person who'd be able to access in case something, you know, needed to get up online faster. I know I've had to wait if something gets logged in, then to get things up within the 48 hours or 24-hour time frame. Would you be offering, how about training for people to
Yes, definitely. That's part of my proposal. Not only would I help you learn how to, you know, go in, and if you want to go into Google Docs, enter information there, get the link, and then add it to the website so that, you know, you yourself can take care of the agenda item. That's the kind of training I will do. And I will also be involved for an entire year as part of this proposal for just questions, or like, how do we do this? Or, you know, you have Guy that is entering most of the things now. So I would make sure that I worked with him as far as any questions he has. So I wouldn't be necessarily doing, you know, that work, but would certainly be there to make sure things are being backed up, any questions are answered, or, you know, if there's something that's a little more complicated, we want to add to the footer, I just can do it. You know, it's not like a extra work order or something. It's like, oh, we want to add a map to the bottom or whatever. I'm available for that. So that's all part of the proposal.
Are we voting on this tonight?
it's on the agenda. We can vote on this tonight. You can table it.
Have we, have,
No, I mean, I was just wondering if she could possibly give us some examples of websites that she's.
Yes, she has done the DV fiber website. I think I had emailed that out.
Okay, so I
And
didn't see it.
and also,
Well, I gave you a list of, my website is codewriter.com. It's in the proposal. And then there's also not only lots of sites I built on there, but there's a page that's, the websites page has a testimonial for, just matches up to just about every site, in the last, like, I don't know, 8 years that I built. So plenty of testimonials. And also if you want to get ideas for like, hey, because I'm going to give you 3 design options. So if you're like, wow, we really like, Guilford's site or DV Fiber or
that's what it
whatever,
was.
you can say these is, or town of, some other town, Dover, Vermont, or some other town's website. You could say, oh, we like how their site's laid out. So you can, get us a look that you guys like. So.
Yes, she did send us, I sent that out.
is pricing competitive?
Okay, well, that was the other thing, the pricing. Guy was going to check with 3 Wired guys, and they were not interested in helping us out. I don't know, it's within our purchase policy price not to have to go out on bid on this. What is the pleasure of this board at this time?
I've seen to be honest.
I have to apologize to Marjorie and the board. I haven't been able to spend much time looking, period.
Right.
I know I have been on the DV fiber website periodically. And if that's Marjorie's work, it's very good. I'd just like to have a not feel rushed. We've got another meeting this month and let it go, till then, so we have a little more comfort level.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to take a look through.
Okay. Marjorie,
Tomorrow's gonna be
so
really-
seems that I'm gonna make a motion that that we're tabling this decision this evening so that the select board members can spend a little bit of time and actually go and look at it. I know we've talked about it and I've looked, but I think it's important that everybody is on the same page.
Yeah.
So may I make a motion that we table this for the next select board meeting? May I have a second?
Yeah.
Seconded by, what's your name, Bruce?
that's how it
Any
works.
discussion? Hearing none, I will add this, all those in favor of tabling this to the next select board meeting signify by saying aye.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna put it right down here, website. And that will be on July 19th, at the same place, same time. Listen, I have one question, Margie, before you go.
Yeah.
My best vision is going forward for the select board. As we start to get out of the paper and pencil and binder way of keeping track and starting to scan things, is having a digital library accessible to select board members, something that you also could help us with. It probably is not part of a website design, but it might be a part of something in the future that we could work with.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that with Workspace, because what you can do is have select board members all be contributing in Workspace. And then if somebody gets off the board, their documents and stuff are still in your Workspace. And so
the next
it keeps it clean, like your content is still all there online. I know Guilford does everything online, but then they also have a printout as well, in the PDFs. And so I think you still probably, I don't know if you still want to always have like a paper copy of things, or if you're going to go fully digital, you can.
Well, I think we'll probably do a little bit of both, but I think one of the things I found is when I came on as select board after 2 years off, some work was done on applying for grants that I didn't know about, and had it been on a drive or something, I could have seen, oh, this is hanging here, and we wasted a year and not approaching that. So I don't want that to happen. We got a lot of balls in the air all the time. So I appreciate that knowledge. Sam?
Sure.
Just one other comment. In our current scenario, it looks like I get the feel the guy has a handle on what is entered into the site and what is not, so that he has control over not double scheduling on the calendar and things like that. Have we asked him or in his input on whether he wanted to continue to some extent down that vein, and how flexible he'd be for implementing some of the comments that Marjorie just made, so that we avoid any discussion that ends up being absorbed down the road?
I know Marjorie is.
His workflow probably will not change a lot. I can keep it the same. Like there will be a calendar, same thing he's been doing, like keeping the calendar updated. And so those kinds of workflow things, like I will work with him to make sure that it's, what he's used to doing. So that part really will be, it'll be different because it'll be on a new platform. Like, yeah, he'll have stuff to learn, but he's pretty tech savvy. So I don't think that'll be a problem.
Will there be any need, in your opinion, to have us all show up at whether it be a special meeting or a work bee to learn anything new so that we can access it, and or when dealing with contractors or vendors who may want to sign on, give them a quick tip on how to do it? Or is it pretty so
What do you
simple
mean
that we
by-
don't need to do that?
What do you mean by contractors or vendors signing in?
Well, we have a process, and maybe I'm speaking out of line on that, I don't know, whereby if a vendor wants to respond to a RFP in the reformer, Sometimes we list them 3 days in a row for a project on a street or macadam replacement or whatever. And we've switched to trying to be a little more progressive and save work effort by allowing them to access the website.
Yeah,
To get the detailed RFP.
definitely
And
have.
then I noticed that you've got reference here to possible emails. If they then decide to submit a bid through a secured email process, is it simple enough that none of us need to be trained on it, or is it obvious that we click on the next button or whatever and it just does what we want?
Well,
I don't hope I'm not asking a
no,
difficult question.
that's a good question. Like WordPress is so good at organizing things like that. Like you would have an actual category called RFPs. And that way, anytime you have a request for proposal, it is added to, it's like a post, and you could have them sort of, now they're kind of in a download section on your site where there's like all this other information. This would just be the section that's request for proposals. So somebody coming to, that drove me crazy when I first started with Guilford. They had ads in the paper, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go try to find it on the website. And you couldn't find it anywhere. Like, it's like, it's got to be easy. Put employment buttons so people click on it and they go right to that post. You can even have a form where they could upload a resume if they want, or I think the email thing does work best. Like, then the email goes right, to whoever you want to receive it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
then there's a history of it, so.
And I know Guy Tanza, he said to me, he goes, Dot, you can upload your own agendas, because he'd be happy to have us
Really? Wow.
take some of his work away.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
well, that's good. That shows it's
We'll
open.
see.
Yeah, no, he said, oh, no, you could do it, just like he said to Stan, you could take the hard drive out of the computer, okay? The same thing. Yeah.
Oh,
All right,
babies.
Margie, well, thank you very much.
Okay,
We will-
thanks for having me. Email me if you have questions. Happy to answer them.
All right, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, is there anybody, Spec TV is not on, are they?
I don't see them then. Ooh, maybe they got new personnel, but it is being recorded to the cloud.
Okay, good. I don't know what okay.
I don't know if that makes a difference, but.
All
We'll
right,
find
the
out.
next item is, there's no big people, but next item right now, let's go over, no on schedule, items 4, review approved draft minutes. Okay, so there's an extra,
RFP bid for Putnam Mountain.
say again?
The, he's
382.
referring to Putnam Mountain, FEMA work.
Were there any bids?
382, yes, but there's nobody on the TV to talk to, so we're gonna go to.
Yeah, under members of the
Six
public.
A is when we open them. But if they were here in person, we would
Oh,
get the
okay.
draft.
Open
and
seal
put it
bids,
in
yeah.
earlier.
I see.
Okay, so, regular minutes from June 21st. May I compliment Vanessa on your thoroughness? I'm like, ooh.
It's too much detail.
That's not your fault.
Well, I'm worried about you getting tired. and-
Yeah, we're, yes, please.
Some of it could be, and it's, some of it doesn't have to be as detailed, like,
Yeah.
but, yes. Move along.
Like the first part.
You may be a
Yes.
little bit.
I'm sorry.
All right, anybody, okay, I'm gonna go over, page 1 of 7, any edits or changes on page 1 of 7, there's an extra copy here.
Get to it. I have it here somewhere. What did I do with it? Oh, my God. Is there an extra copy you said?
I
Where?
just did-
Oh, okay, that's all right. Yeah, I hope to find mine. I hope to find mine. That's okay, Paul. Go ahead. You need it? Go right ahead.
Oh, Sam, Vanessa has. one.
Vanessa, do you?
Look at.
Okay.
Doesn't have any notes that you might have.
I had marked it up and, I mean, not that it needed a lot of marking up, but there were a couple of things I just didn't know the answer to.
All right, so we're gonna look at page 1 of 7. I had no items.
Here it is. Okay. Thank you.
Anything on page 2 of 7? Stan?
Yes, from the top, let's see, it would be the 6th line down. The sentence says, Stan reminded the select board that work was originally to be completed by June 29th, 2023. And I'm gonna apologize to you all and Vanessa, because that comment and that date, if my memory is not leading me astray, is not referring to the completion of the work. What it is referring to is the date that the Vermont Department of Historic Preservation wanted all the appropriate documentation for the project to be submitted to them.
Right,
So should we just
6 sentences down.
So basically, you could,
remove it?
you could either remove it or just, if you wanted to go to the word originally about in the middle of that, delete the rest of it. And just say that the work
What he's talking about.
was, and then I'm probably even delete originally. And maybe even the word work, the documentation was to be submitted to VDHP by June 29th, 2023.
Okay,
All right,
or
so-
do you want to just take the whole sentence out? What's the best thing to do here? You get questions if you delete things?
No,
No, that's why drafts can be drafts and drafts, so we can
Yeah,
modify them.
yeah. I don't know if it's.
Dan Noger reminded the select board that the final due date was to be June 29th, 2023. Of paperwork
For
for
documentation.
documentation.
That the file, okay,
That the due date for the documents due date would be June 29th, 2023.
That's a good way to split it. I like that.
They have since given us a little leeway, so
Yeah.
we're okay.
it's gonna read, I sent a reminder to the select board that the documents
Due
due
date,
date would be.
June 29th, 2023.
That would be good.
Okay,
Anything else on page 2 and 7? I know that, Ms. Parker, Leanne Parker, was concerned that she was quoted, very last paragraph, it says Leanne Parker informed the select board that she doesn't expect the work to take more than 2 weeks. When she saw her quote in the minutes, she said she really had no authority to guesstimate the length of the project time. So she would like to strike that from the minutes as a hearsay on her part. What do you think, Stan? She did say it, but it was, she said it's hearsay on her part. She doesn't know for sure.
I actually wasn't paying attention, but just superficially, and I think what I caught of it made sense as an amendment.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
So-
clarified it a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right, and so she said we could pretty much, it's hearsay and
She was saying that the whole foundation would be done in 2 weeks.
she thought that, yeah, she didn't expect it to be, and then when she read it, she goes, well, I guess I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Or Vanessa shouldn't have heard that.
Yeah.
so
There-
we're gonna.
She'd like to strike it.
Okay,
I have one other on that page,
Stan,
when.
okay, anything else on page
Vanessa
2?
read it.
No,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, for clarification. Again, I'm gonna apologize to everybody regarding my exact phraseology. The sequence of events, the last paragraph before B. On that page in the upper half. 3A.
What number? 3A.
3A, at the conclusion of this agenda topic, SN gave a gift certificate, $200 that he had received to LAP for the BMH. If I said it that way, I was wrong, way wrong. I mean, and that's irrelevant. What it should be is, Stan donated. I
okay,
didn't give it per se. I mean, I handed it to her, but I'm donating it financially.
sure.
Cause
yeah.
I paid the $200 to buy that item. And then I'm turning around and donating it to,
BMH for
Brookline
fundraising.
Meeting House. So I would suggest this just, donate it.
It's certificate,
Yeah, everything else can stay the same.
Okay.
but then that he had received.
Just,
Okay, that, well, maybe we could even delete more words, because if it donate a gift certificate, either that he had purchased to LAP for the BMH.
You had donated a gift certificate that he had purchased.
Just, yeah.
yeah,
I wondered what to do with it, and I thought maybe they could use it.
anything else on page 2 of
With
7?
the understand, now there's more, but I'm not gonna get into that, and you did a good job, thank you.
All right, page 3 of 7, any changes to page 3 of 7?
Let's see. Nope.
Page 4 of 7. Mr. Mello,
You spell out, please?
MELLOW.
That version. On E, where it says mowing / brush hog attachment, do I understand that company to be Alta and Northeast Attachment and Truck? Or is that right, and Track?
I contacted 2 companies, Alta
Is it called Track?
and Northeast Attachment and Track
Okay,
Company.
same corrected, I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
The only other thing I have is down where it says ARPA on I, and the very last sentence. He, being me, he referred to the BMH survey results in which the roads were identified by most of the highest priority, followed by the meeting house. That wasn't a result of the survey, it was a result of my opinion of, it wasn't a result of the survey. Understand?
okay, so,
It should have, he referred to the roads being identified as the most important. And of the highest priority, followed by the meeting house. It had nothing to do
just
with.
strike,
Has
just
nothing to
strike
do with
the
survey.
BMH survey results.
So I'll just take that entire sentence out at the end, the
Okay.
last sentence on that page.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, page 5 of 7,
Good.
Okay.
page 6 of 7. Are you page 5 of 7? Yes. Page 6 of 7.
I have one.
Yeah,
All right,
Go ahead. Joe.
Stan, what do you see?
the highway grants contracts. I again didn't look at the tape. I wanted to, I just didn't have time. When was this? This was the minutes of 6/7. I don't know what that is actually referring to. We still haven't gotten and didn't meet until Mark and I met, with Lisa Donnelly and Jeff Nugent. And they still haven't told us which road segment they prefer us to work on for fiscal year 23. So I can't be writing a contract yet.
Yes, I did go out with Lisa and we drove and looked at all the sites that I had in mind and they were gonna get back to us
Right.
with.
So you can say that if Stan said the wrong thing or something.
Stan will prepare one contract covering the grant when it is presented to the town.
Oh, I see, yeah. So this may have been the part where I couldn't go back to the,
Oh,
tape
yeah.
because.
Yes.
It-
Yes, cut up. Hopefully we'll do it tonight.
So I'll just take that line out.
Yep, and just say, well, Stan will prepare that one contract covering the $12,500 when it is presented to the town.
Okay.
I did present comment about that contract. But I guess what I'm really questioning, is it the date of June 26th is a date that I could have in no way off, or because I had no idea when and if we were gonna get that restrictive advisement from Wyndham Regional to do this or that. And Mark was is a part of that presentation and discussion with her. And I don't think either of us have heard anything yet back from her. Correct.
All right,
And that's it.
all right, anything on page 7 of 7?
Would you give my 6?
Yeah, I'm on 6 now, we're
Okay.
doing 6.
I have,
All right, Bruce,
on D, water source protection,
the water source protection,
That's
table
good.
last meeting, Bruce will follow up regarding, go ahead.
now, PM will follow up regarding outstanding questions from the Vermont Department of Environment. I never said that. All I said was that I would help them if they give me assistance. I
Right,
didn't say I was gonna contact them and ask them more questions.
so how do you want to,
Or you can say, or you can put it this way,
Bruce
the state
Miller.
of the state of Vermont responds to my email of April 26th and agrees to give me assistance, I will be more than happy to help them with any questions that they have, something like that.
the state of Vermont?
Department of Environmental Conservation.
That's it for me.
That's the Vermont. Wait a minute, but I'm not.
Okay.
Response
You okay?
to,
Bruce Mello said that he would be willing to work with the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation
Okay,
on the
source protection.
water source protection plan when they reach out to him again.
There you go. That's simple.
You know,
It's easy
something
for,
we're gonna have to
it's
ask
easy for them. That's good.
for. Okay.
I'll go with that.
Anything else on page 6? If not, we'll go to page 7. Anything on page 7 that needs to be changed at this time? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from Wednesday, June 21st, as amended, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any
I'm abstaining.
abstain? Paul is abstaining because it makes sense. All right, he wasn't here. The motion passes as amended. All right, next item. Payroll warrant and accounts payable warrant. Wrong one. Payroll.
I don't know how it happened, but I like the fact that it's now printed such that sent to us in a way that when we print it, it's the right way.
Straight, yes.
What a relief.
Yes, I know what you mean. All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve payroll warrant 24-01 dated July 5th, 2023 in the amount of $5,377.66. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bruce. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving payroll warrant 2401 for $5,377.66 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. I'll pass it around for your signatures. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to make, no, it's a very sign thing now, move on. All right, the next one is, I'd like to make a motion to approve accounts payable warrant 2402 dated July 5th, 2023 in the amount I thought, here it is, up here. $39,987.52. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stan. Discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm new to this and I'm wondering why are there two items there for Newbrook Fire Department?
Very good question.
And there's like
Newburgh Fire Department,
quite a bit of money.
Good point.
um, we've approved in the town, the operating part of the town, they, two kinds of bills. One is for $9,000, which is the mutual.
Mutual aid out of Keene,
What?
mutual aid out of Keene
Out
that
of
serves most
Keene,
of Wyndham
Our
County.
911 emergency contacts when we call in fire and things of that
So
sort.
so that's what the 9,000.
Yeah. And the other one is for Newbrook itself,
Okay,
prorated population base,
so
and it's
that's,
once a year.
that's not like a charge, that's just like,
That is something they ask for an appropriated
okay,
amount.
okay,
and-
I see. Okay.
We spent $9,000 on mutual aid per year. It's always been that way? How did I miss that?
It went up quite a bit a couple of years ago, but yeah, it's been there.
That's a lot of cash.
Another part of
Do
the
we have,
discussion,
do we have any choices that we can look into other than the mutual aid? Or we not? That's why.
that's
The
why.
emergency management
So,
meeting
you know,
that I
like
went to in Wilmington, there was probably about 50 people from various departments around the county. Everybody's using the mutual aid out of Keene. Even people in Wilmington are doing that. It's the place that's somehow gotten approval and orchestrating all the contact that goes from various departments in the
They
area.
coordinate Dartmouth, Bay State,
Yeah.
Brattleboro, Grace
They
Cottage,
must have gotten some approval from somebody to do that,
all of
and
that.
everybody uses
They
it.
got a monopoly.
You're
In a
right,
nice way.
you're right.
The other thing I wanted to make a point of, I know, Stan, you got a call from Judy and I stopped in here. She was questioning a bill from A.S. Clark and I spoke with Mark about dividing it up, and we've identified some of the materials on this particular invoice 1748 is related to FEMA. It's been noted on the form and it appears that Judy has corrected the appropriated where to debit those funds from. So it's been corrected. Any other discussion before I move to accept this? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving accounts payable warrant 2402 dated July 5th, 2023 in the amount of $39,987.52 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Hearing none, motion passes. Pass this around, signatures. Okay. Next is the sealed bid. All right, if you're not sure, I do have a copy of the RFP that was available for the culvert work on Putney Mountain, which is part of the FEMA project. Two of the bids came via email and were appropriately I confirmed that they received them. I did receive them. So we have here's the, you said that, Mark, you said there were 5 vendors that came?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and 3 of them submitted bids. The bids were received from A.S. Clark and Sons, from Jeremy Vogue. And she emailed to me, his name of his company is Blue Mountain Trucking and Excavating. He was there, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then Sam Bourne. So I'm just gonna give out these here, and I'll give this one to you.
Thank you.
I do have to say that Sam Bourne, who sent me his bid, and I think you have it, Paul, you have Sam Bourne? Because Sam, his second page of his bid, I could not print out, but it was a illustration of a culvert, so I don't have any of the bids you guys have for that. And again, this is for culvert 9, culvert 10, culvert 28, and culvert 31. Completion date on or before September 30th, 2023. So,
What are these two things?
okay, this is what I couldn't print out. This is
Oh, the drawing,
the drawing.
okay.
I couldn't print it out, but I could show it to you. And it's his insurance, you're supposed to send insurance and diagrams. So,
Where's South Library? Anybody know?
Sounds right.
I'm sorry, Bruce, I couldn't understand what you said.
I'm sorry, was I didn't speak up on it? I was just curious as to where South Reigate, Vermont is.
South Reigate, Vermont.
It's up near Bradford, it's like 2/3 of the way up
The state?
state on Route 5. on the
Okay.
side there. On the Connecticut Riverside.
Oh, on the connector.
I'm going to, I'm just really curious. Can I,
No, on the Vermont.
On the cross.
Yeah.
can I,
Thanks.
there's one from Sam, there's one from A.S. Clark, and there's one from Blue Mountain, is it called?
Yeah, I didn't see the other two though.
They're here.
Oh, sorry, okay.
This is Sam's,
This is Sam's. Okay.
you know,
Should I-
you don't-
I'm sorry, you know, see this? I don't need copies.
Copies
I-
for-
I don't need I don't need any more copies. I know it's 79,000. Thank you, everyone.
Should I'd like to ask
Yeah,
what the
boys,
bids
I'm-
amount are, because I don't even have it, I don't.
That's fine. Whoa. 34,000. Okay. This is Stan's, okay? Same project, same, okay, same material, same everything,
well, this guy doesn't really give much.
okay?
Yeah, this is hard to understand. He doesn't refer to it in the manner that it was referenced here in the
Here's obviously-
Which one
RFP.
do you have?
This is A.S. Clark.
Oh, boy.
Is
I
that
already
one?
already saw
So that
that.
was-
These two have to go Stan.
This is Sam, this is the, again, I could not print out his diagram, but it is here. Don't know why.
Okay,
It's his culvert in drawing.
Stan.
Oh, I'm sorry, you want the Clark one?
Yeah, I wanted
I
to
haven't
see it.
seen that either.
Okay, so this is Sanborn and this
And
is,
he was 30, what thousand? I'm
All right,
sorry,
could you
you'll
just,
see in a second.
could you give me some numbers here? What was the Sanborn's?
30 something, 30.
I'm just curious.
Keep going.
Or A.S. Clark or
$34,107 from Mr. Oh, should we be reading these?
Yeah, we're opening the. bids.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
34,107.
that's right.
34,107.
I didn't-
Okay, A.S. Clark,
At 17,380.
17,
2,300.
$17,380.
and we,
$80, and Blue Mountain,
there was 79,000 or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Jeremy Bowden,
with virtually no,
$79,911, lump sum
Wow.
price.
$79,911.
so they're all over the place here.
Yeah,
Boy,
reminds me of what Mark said last meeting. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
That's so you heard.
wow,
Yeah,
that's incredible. So what was the one? What was that? 7. I'm
well,
sorry.
needs no specificity whatsoever.
17, double that for Sam and 8. Okay, come on, answer.
Excavation.
Need a motion?
Can I see one?
Excavation.
Can you give me one that somebody's not looking?
Oh, I don't know. Here's one. That's the first one, the big one, I think.
I just pretty much printed them out without looking, because I know. Oh, man, I will look.
Here's the AS Clark envelope. Oh, sorry. Do you want this one back? Or here's the Bourne estimate.
And if there was a way to print out this, I would. I tried it
No problem.
saved it several different ways.
Oh, did any of them give a date by which they would have their job done?
Yeah, we told them it has to be done
By
September
November
3rd.
1st.
by September.
30.
Our RFP has a date. It has to be done. I just read it to you.
He said,
September 30th, I think it was.
that's what she said.
Okay,
So the project must be done.
yes,
by
it
then.
does. All right, I'm looking at the RFP right now. Sorry.
You did.
Okay. All right, so we have 3 bids. Is there any one that we can cancel right away?
I think the one for
$79,911.
definitely out.
Okay, so we have all agree that the Blue Mountain bid of $79,911 is outside of the limits of this town's possible. Okay, so we have 2 of them. This is Sam Horn and the other one is A.S. Clark and Son. How, can I say A.S. Clark when you get a chance?
Yeah.
And so one.
Do we have a copy of that RFP here?
Yeah.
Here it is, Jim. Yeah.
Okay, well.
You'll get used to it. It's awful.
These excavation backhoe ground rip wrap up material to be placed on installation of the over 2 trees and 1
Then I can put it forward.
Well, here.
Gardening.
That night, the wife and I went to Brattleboro's fireworks last night. They were great.
Were they?
I
Really?
really would
They're
like to
upgrading
look at
the
this.
fireworks. They have these special ones that
Where-
will shoot off straight and then go on an angle. They just cover the whole sky
Where was it?
with a particular type and they'll shoot a large.
Where do they shoot it off? No?
Basically from 2/3 of the way up Memorial Park Hill.
See, I don't understand the wording. It says you bid to install 1 to
Is that a lot of
3.
people?
1 3-foot
Yeah,
culvert.
it's packed.
We have a 36-inch culvert we have.
We
Really?
found a site on it
So the
with our launch.
30,
That's this.
Watched it,
That's
it's great,
all.
and
Hey,
there were no
this
mosquitoes
is
in it.
saying 2, 36.
Last year,
It is.
mosquitoes like crazy.
Yeah, I don't have any mosquitoes at home either.
And
Black
then
flies,
2 18-inch culvert.
the only thing is ticks.
I mean, I'm
For
not
the last 3
seeing,
weeks, I haven't had
It doesn't
another
look-
11.
Oh, this is
Wow.
wrong then.
I'm very careful. I'm not.
Actually.
well, is that wrong?
Let me.
Last year, 27.
You maybe
I
need
can
some
tell.
chickens.
I can tell. Yeah, oh, she's got that. I can tell. Whoa, there's one.
Where's Sam?
It's
You
two
and the
lengths
tiny-
of It's 2 lengths of culvert.
No,
136. It's
My
2
deacon in my church has.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
20 and 20,
Freaking mess.
2 lengths.
I had a good friend that died. They didn't, back then, in the 80s, really.
Okay, so I mean, this
understand it or
doesn't
not.
say that how
He
long it's gonna
basically
be.
comatose last week of the.
Well, all culverts
Oh,
are
God.
20 feet.
It's awful.
Yeah,
Yes.
but this one's gonna be 40.
yeah, it's pretty scary.
is what you're
Well, what, yeah,
And she's living in
he
Connecticut,
actually
of all places,
helped
I
us
think they'd
in
be up on
designing
that.
that.
saying. Okay,
He's very
At some
familiar
point, you
with.
just get
so
tired of
he
it.
should know.
So if I go out,
Got it.
you know,
Okay.
use
Yeah.
permethrin or this.
He's done most of the other.
That really works.
Right?
I sprayed myself.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in order for us to move
Not now,
on.
though.
Yes, all right, we have two bids left on the table. We can table it for further review. We can vote on one of the 2 possibles. In which case, if we do just make a decision, then tomorrow, I can tell FEMA at our 10 o'clock meeting what the cost is for the rest of that particular project so that we can get the ball rolling. I'm gonna make a motion. Let's move things on. I'm
Yeah.
gonna make a motion that we accept the bid from A.S. Clark and Sons for the culvert work on Putney Mountain Road as advertised for a price of $17,380. If I have a second, okay, seconded by Bruce, further discussion. I know that A.S. Clark is very familiar with the site. And based upon all the other work that he's done, I have no question about it getting done correctly. I do want to say that the other, I'm glad to see that another town resident, Sam Bourne, is getting involved in this as the business grows. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit, probably more than he could cover for this. So, all right, we have a motion, second, any other discussion?
I feel good about the fact that we've got another citizen in town interested,
Yeah.
willing to bid it, and I think highly of both of them. My motivation, I know other work that each of them has done, and they all do a good job, but from my vantage point, it makes me feel better to know that I've saved our people in town
Significant.
the significant amount of money.
Yeah, it's a significant amount.
Yeah,
Okay,
So-
any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving and accepting the bid submitted by A.S. Clark and Sons for the work on Putney Mountain, the FEMA project in the amount of $17,380, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes, the bid will be awarded. I will contact the vendors and all of the little contract companies that have been writing these saying.
I just wanted to say that we had 5 bidders show up for the mandatory site visit.
We did,
Yeah, 5 total.
and we had 3 bids, so 2
And
didn't
we
bid.
got 3 out of the 5. Which I figured we would get 5. The other 2 were local, one in Bella Falls area, one in Brattleboro area.
Huh,
One
They-
Brattleboro has worked for us before, his night third. One question was, could he work at night? They installed culverts for 2 years back and they did them in the evening with generator.
wow. Neat.
I guess figuring the traffic is less of a
Yeah.
hassle in the evening.
But we are gonna close the road anyway.
Yeah, that question was there at the meeting. So I feel like they all, each of them all asked questions that everybody heard at the same time. Everything appeared to be clear. I just wanted to add that there is a huge difference in price here. The Blue Mountain excavation guy is not a stranger to our area. He, after talking with him, he has installed culverts from Brattleboro North Route 30 a year or so ago. They've done a lot of work in Brattleboro.
I think this is a little rich for our blood.
Yeah, and one of the benefits, again, is the fires come under a lot is the fact they have to get in town.
yeah,
The trucking of material.
I knew that as a part of it.
That saves us a lot of money.
These other guys have to purchase the material where they own it and it's in town, so of course they won't do it.
And one thing I'd like to say about that, closing that road. I mean, I don't know about you all, but I've been using Putney Mountain as a workaround to
Yeah.
go.
Oh, yeah.
Rather
Me too.
So I really think it's imperative that we give the town
Ample.
considerable notice.
Yes, and I
But that road is gonna
notify
be
the
closed.
fire department, the state police. I put it out on Facebook. It goes on the EMF, emergency road closure list that everybody gets. We put signage and blockage up at the top, and it's only during the time, maybe the first row of paving will be done before we get to this. We don't know that though.
I think I could shed a light on that, seeing them waiting on $179.
Yes.
But I had a fairly good discussion with the insurance company out of Florida that's paying me hopefully for the tire that was cut. And obviously they've paid up to Upper Dummerston Road, I believe, right now. And the rest was just turned over, was scarified, and now is stone. And I'm totally feeling that the reason why my tire got cut is because it was fresh stone, brand new, old stuff. I came up, what they're doing now, it appears is they're putting all fresh new stone in. And to cut to the chase, I have the impression that they're gonna, what they said, the lady said weeks ago, that they were gonna put a coat down right away on the part that was already turned over. Well, with all the dirt, that they did that. I haven't talked to her since then with how soon they're gonna do this, but if you look at the progression that they've done all the way up to the bridge and all the way up to here, they're along pretty well.
We'll keep it in consideration as we
But-
decide on the date of closing the road.
But I don't know how
I
soon,
mean, I'm just saying, I think.
you're right.
I think we should put signs saying this.
Oh, we
road
do.
will be
Oh, we
closed.
will.
We will.
No, but I mean, this date, give people like a week
Yeah.
to realize,
That's a good idea.
Front porch forum,
yeah,
all
Yeah,
that.
all of it, yeah.
I don't know how soon it's gonna be a
We'll
little.
find
longer.
out.
I
They'll
would
tell-
say that there'll be I guess that there'll be we should do that anyway, that there'll be a solid pavement from here.
Well, I mean, I've just driven around here and
That's a great
had it
idea.
happen where there was no notice and all of a sudden there's construction.
Did
Right,
I make a
Things flow.
copy of the
Right.
bid and the from, yes, so that I have it for the needs of the contract?
You have them all in there.
Good, good, good.
All right, I'm gonna move us along
Okay,
there.
this is
We're
interesting.
going to the MTAP program meeting with Chris Campany of Wyndham Regional. We're gonna discuss the possible participation and vote on this program for Brookline. The materials were emailed to select board members. I do have copies if you want anything else that will be emailed out to us. Stan, you and Samara,
Yes,
right? We're
yeah,
both met with him and you,
Yeah.
what you wanted to share your impressions. I see this as something that it's a free assistance to the town, but I think I need to understand what kind of assistance they're referring to.
well, it basically has the very same question. And it's a very general answer. It's there was no specificity about it at all. Essentially, because of the size of our town, the financial strength of our town, both geographic size as well as population. And there's a myriad of criteria they use to isolate 6 towns in this area that would fall in this category. And essentially, they're saying, this is what it really appears to boil down to, and if I'm wrong, hopefully Samara will watch this and correct me, but they're basically saying, if there's anything you want to do in your town, anything, bring it up, let us know, and we'll tell you whether or not it's possible, both in terms of various grants, types of grants, size of the grants. If they can make it happen, they will. So he said, essentially, you have nothing to lose. They'll come in, they'll sit down and talk with the whole group. I think the principle upon which Samara and I met with him was that rather than putting you through what we were gonna go through, whatever that was that day, we'd do a pre-screening. And we both, after the meeting, looked at each other and said, this is worth pursuing, it's worth presenting to the entire board, and it would be, it would warrant a positive vote to pursue it. It's their time and whatever time we want to put in. You know, they, you know, some of the other grants that we've seen, there are a little caveats here, caveats there, caveats there. Chris Campy's basic statement, and he kept going back to that, is he would rather that a town look at this opportunity as a positive one, as that if you've got a wish to do something in particular, he said, if there isn't a way readily available, we will look to try to find a way to do what it is you want. There's no management fee
Well, that's good to hear.
associated with it.
All right.
So it would seem like it's a win-win, one way or another.
Let me ask, focus on a stupid question. But are you getting the feeling, Stan, that they got a control on everything that's available? I'm saying that, no? In terms of grants, money available, we've had a bunch of things come down. We had ARPA come down, we had Act 172 come down, you got independent grants, you got stuff with the state like the Vermont Arts Council. But do you think, are you getting the impression that they have a handle on all of that?
They have
Well, handle in that they are the regional planning commission. And there's, you know, there are, for every county in the state, there's one out there for that region. And it looks to me, I think the most recent email Dot sent along to me was one she got from the girl that does the ARPA stuff for VLCT, Katie Buckley.
Yeah.
And she encouraged the town, there are 6 towns, Athens, Brookline,
saw
Reedsboro, Searsburg, and I think Halifax.
Right.
And she said that, you know, she basically said, you have an opportunity here. You might be able to get something that you may never have an opportunity to again. And encouraged us to talk with Chris Campy, and we had already done that. So I think we were ahead of the ball there. And the idea is just that in order for this to proceed, to have the benefit of the exposure to Chris is a select board in the town, the select board in the town has to vote yes to follow up the process.
Anybody make a motion? Go ahead.
Continue one point. It appears to me as though they're in a position that if we have a certain thing where we want to get done, we go to them, they might not even know it initially, but they'll be able to find out down, that's that agency, you can get the money from them, or you gotta go to the feds, or blah, blah, blah.
They're
And
prepaid.
we can't do that.
Yes, they are. I'm sure they're prepaid. I
They're
agree with
prepaid
you.
to do this for us.
Yeah.
So that.
Yeah,
I
got
think
their
it's a
money.
great idea. I really
Yeah.
do.
I would
And I,
make a
and I,
motion-
I'm sorry, Paul.
No, I was just
I've
gonna
talked
make a
enough.
motion that we
Okay.
vote, that we accept this.
I
Okay, a
think it's a
motion on the
great
floor
idea.
to participate in the municipal technical assistance program with the Wyndham Regional. May I have a second?
Second,
Seconded by Mr. Noga. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor and participating in the municipal technical assistance program with Wyndham Regional signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Okay. I think Stan's just making a copy of this. Okay, item D. Consider, it was brought to my attention by a member of the Brookline Meeting House Committee that there was a concern that there was no policy or any way to keep track of things that get borrowed, like borrowing tables and chairs or using the building. And so I would like the select board to consider a meeting with them on Monday evening. I think that committee might be able to come up with an idea of a policy to present to the select board for a future meeting on how things can be borrowed from the town, like chairs and tables. So,
Because we don't want to lose track of them.
Right.
Okay, I'm with that. Okay.
so that's just a new business. It doesn't require any votes, but if it's all right with you, I will say that I will charge the committee with doing a little research for us.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I have 2 other items here, E and F. You know, we bring this up for a vote, but you know what? Earlier in the year, we all vote on approving our sole source vendor list, and now we're just getting the contracts. I don't know if we actually have to vote on these, but I am going to do so. I have in front of me a contract for services, and the non-employee list for Bloom Enterprises. So I'd like to make a motion that the board authorizes the contract for services for the vendor known as Bloom Enterprise, who does a lot of property maintenance and tree work for the town of Brookline throughout the year. May I have a second?
Second.
Whatever.
Seconded by Bruce. Discussion. Okay, 5, no, that's it. All those in favor of approving this contract with Bloom Enterprise signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Hearing none, the motion passes. We sign on 5B. 3, 4, 5. Oh, here's sign here kind of stuff. All right, so I'll ask you, just there's a couple of spots that you can add that. Okay, so that one's passed. I also have the same kind of contract for services, a short form for Townsend water testing. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract for services for Townsend Water Testing LLC. May I have a second?
I wish we didn't.
Second.
Seconded by
I
Stan.
wish we
Any
didn't either.
discussion? This company is the one that tests the water, collects and tests
Andy
water
did a good
samples
job.
for the state of.
We all sign this?
If there's a spot, if there's a, under here, there's 5 lines, so somebody, you gotta sign where there's extra
You
lines.
only have to sign one of them.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. I will pass this around for, again, a couple more signatures.
Thank you.
I guess I get to sign 3 places. You guys want to get to sign? 2. All right, I will hand those in.
And, oops, they got it separated out there.
Uh, you probably wanna sign there.
There too.
But not here, just you here.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was that.
And the treasurer's.
I didn't do that too. Sorry. I take that out too. There you go.
All right, thank you all very much. Next item, very briefly, I have here, it says consideration discussion on the townwide reappraisal schedule. Back in February, actually, it's February 15th, I talked with Helen Holt because she received notification that our numbers were close to, if not just beyond, what triggers a townwide reassessment for taxation purposes. And we do have a fund that has been collecting money to pay for that townwide reassessment. We've also heard that the reassessors are in high demand. Since COVID, there was nothing done. So there is a backlog of signing up to get the reassessment done. This is a sample agreement that was sent by NEMRIC, excuse me, not NEMRIC. This
I think it might be.
is NEMRIC. So this is a sample contract received by NEMRIC who would coordinate this reassessment. I did not want it to, we're still waiting on our grand list information. And I didn't want this not to get brought up again. Stan, you've been a lister before, and I know we talked about reassessments and such. Refresh me with the numbers that the code, the 80% or something.
COA and COD.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, coefficient of dispersion, which is how do the sales prices match up with the assessments? Is there a wide disparity?
Okay.
Now, there's some that are close and there are some that are way off. And every single sale is a calculation made encompassing every single valid sale with a calculation made that determines whether the appraisals or the assessments of the town are pretty close to the sale prices or wide. And I believe that still is, there's a 20% variation that has been retained for the coefficient of dispersion. So as long as you have coefficient of dispersion, it's less than 20. And I think ours is like 18 point something, if my memory's not failing me. It's under the 20, but it's close. the state used to say, you're close, so you better start considering doing a reappraisal.
That's what they say, to sign
Yeah.
up so that we get on a list so that it gets done by 2026 or 2027 even.
And in
When
the
was
recent
last
years,
one?
the 2007, I think was the last
Oh,
one.
so it's been.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, 14 years or no, 16 years.
But is there like a monetary, how much this gonna cost?
Oh, yeah, it's, the cost, well, I'm sorry. John.
No, there is a fund and there is sufficient money in the fund. I think there's over $40,000
It's 40, 42, somewhere in that.
that we've been
range.
collecting since
Okay.
2007.
And this
We've
won't
covered
go over
this.
that?
I think the rate for per parcel is somewhere between $60 and $80 on average. So we've got 320 parcels essentially. You multiply that by 60 and I don't know what number we get,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It'll be-
it's less than 40,000. So in theory, unless there's some other detail they want done that nobody's expecting it's gonna cost more, we should be okay. We should be okay. Every year we get a certain sum of money. I think it's $3 a parcel or something in that range. They
Mhm.
recently changed numbers on that too. But that over the 17 years, 16 years has brought us to the $40,000 that we have.
Right,
So it's not like we kicked it out of or taking it from taxpayers. It's purely, it's
Yeah.
basically funded by the state
slowly over the
over
years.
time. And it should work. The question right now is, the other, just one other, the other end of that is the other ratio is common level of appraisal. And that used to also be 20%. But in the last 3 years, it looks like the state has reduced that down to 15%. And I think, if my memory's not failing, we're at 14 point something. So we're very close to the line there. And the regional director for the tax department has mentioned to Helen, I think, a couple of times. We've talked about, Dot and I have, back when Helen brought it up, talked about it. And I was operating under my old conservative principle of don't spend the money unless you don't have to. But given what has happened with, there's not enough appraisal companies to go around. State was forced to make some concessions to the process. And I don't know where that frankly is at. I know that they backed off from their initial hard-nosed stance. And there was, I think, last I remember is the state was allowing like a 3-year period to see how things go and if the number of towns that might need to do so would be reduced because their statistics would come more in line. And then they also were considering, well, what can we do? Because it would take, I think somebody calculates 25 years for every town that currently needs to have a reappraisal done with the short number of firms that do it to get everybody done. That's just not realistic.
No.
So they're looking at other ways to try, like maybe if you knew that, if we knew, for example, that any property over a sale price of 800,000 had a worst assessment, meaning so far from that sale price that it was ridiculous, we might be able to go in and do an adjustment to those kinds of properties so that the difference, the statistics become much tighter and increase the accuracy of the whole statistical valuation for
But who
Brookline.
governs that? The listers or the state?
Oh, the state tells you.
They
what
tell
and
you,
how to do
these
it.
are out of line, you gotta go take.
Oh, yeah, there's a sales report that
Okay.
comes out at the end of December of every single year.
Uh-huh.
And within 30 to 60 days, in this case, Helen and Mike, I don't know if Mike's actively involved or not. Helen goes through that list of sales and the 2 years before. So it's a 3-year listing of sales
Uh-huh.
to get that statistic. And the reason it's 3 years is if the values go up sharply, you're gonna have 2 years to kind of keep it hung down a little bit. So it's not an instantaneous smack to the town's need to have an appraisal reassessment done. And on the other hand, if it goes the other way and you get a significant change all of a sudden because of property values dropping, those other 2 years hopefully will give you a little bit of a hold of consistency so that it doesn't make it a constant unknown variation. So it's a 3-year average. And I don't know, I guess what else could I add that would be of importance to you to understand? That's pretty much it.
Can,
It's pretty much in the state hands.
do I ask, Helen, to start the wheels, freshly grease some wheels on this reappraisal, because this goes back to February, and I don't know what really, is this the only, is never how we go through it? Is-
No, there are other firms. They're one of a few. I think if you want to call it a luxury that we have is that they also
Or, hey.
do some
that's
of
why
our
he
other
said-
stuff with the software that we
Yeah,
have.
that there's, that we have a little bit of an edge with them to get it done sooner rather than later if we go with them.
There's one caveat I need to add to that. And then one day when I was coming in here to meet with somebody about something and Helen was here, she tends to be here Wednesdays and sometimes Thursdays. She made mention that the state is switching to software to another firm. So Nemrod is always been slow to make changes for current trends and spiffing up the software to be more responsive. So I would suggest, since she's the one that really probably would have, this is just a suggestion. She has the knowledge to know who it is, how the state feels about that, is maybe ask her, how is this whole reappraisal process going? And would this be time to grease the wheels
I'm gonna ask her
and
to-
sign, or whether we should wait and see a little longer?
Okay,
She'll say one way or the other.
Here's a quick question to Stanley. You can answer this. I was just reading this over a little bit. In the property inspection part. Nemrick will inspect all real property in Brookline. This includes both exterior and interior inspections when provided access to the interior of the building.
right.
Does that say you have to show them inside and outside?
Nope.
That's what I
The
thought.
same control that the individual has over their home is not changing. In fact, on the typical average reappraisal, the firm doing it, this is pretty historically consistent. It's 45% of the properties. They don't get to see more than that.
Right.
Some people don't want their properties looked at because of improvements they've made. Some people are embarrassed to let people in and see what they got.
Right, and also COVID, they don't wanna have people in
And
there.
So-
some people believe life, liberty, or death. And so they're not gonna let anybody.
Looks like
So,
right way.
so, you know, it's that's, yeah, no, the
Okay.
property owner still has. a
I'm not
different-
gonna.
So I'm gonna ask, so I would like to
I'd
ask,
like to have a copy of that.
okay, and some, I'm gonna say make Bruce,
Thank you.
this is just a sample contract that they.
That's fine.
I'll put it here.
Dot, before you go through that effort, I may have a copy of that on my computer. If I do, I can let you know and just send it along to Bruce, so you don't have to go through an extra couple steps.
Thank you.
Okay,
It's a PDF, okay.
all right, I'm
yeah,
gonna move
thank you.
on to here, the next item, unfinished business.
We're cooking now.
So, all right, the local emergency management plan, all right, I have a little bit of. I backtracked a couple of times and I set it up a couple of times. Today is the July 5th one. I did one for June 21st and April 19th. The last contract, the last local emergency management plan adoption form was on April 20th, 2022. They're supposed to be done and verified by the select board vote by the 1st of May. We had a rough May, April, May here in Brookline, so things got held back a little bit. Long story short, I am submitting a local emergency plan exactly the same as was done last year. I thought I had to add Paul and Samara to the list, but I do not. They have 5 people. The 5 people involved are the select board chair, the select board vice chair, the town clerk, the highway supervisor, and our token Bruce Mello, because was our 3rd select board member. We don't need to have Paul and Samara. This is a living document. However, if people change or cut out, we can always modify it. But it is to our benefit to get this done sooner than later, because if a problem happens in a, if we have an emergency, not having this voted on by the select board would mean that we would not get the full amount of, okay. Your town's LEMP is overdue and your emergency relief assistance score is reduced to 7.5% until a complete LEMP is received. So based upon that request, I am going to, I don't know, it's just, that's not it. So I'm gonna pass it around. That's June, April. Here's, yes,
This mutual.
not mutual
No,
aid.
okay,
This is how we got to work on Putney Mountain right after the storm.
Okay,
Because we had people listed that they are the ones
Okay.
we're gonna call on if we
Okay.
have an emergency. What is
Okay.
today's date?
It's the fifth.
Oh my gosh. This is the acceptance form that I would sign. And this is a sample of, let me show you, Paul, because you haven't seen it. This is what last year's looked like. It consists, you can flip through that.
Oh, this is there.
This is
Okay.
just the cover sheet that I fax into them. But it just shows that's who we are, our emails and phone numbers. It identifies what pages the different documents are on, that are attached. It lists those people who are on our emergency call list. Our schools, our fire departments,
Yeah.
and such. We don't have any of this equipment, so nothing is checked. For that, and again, newspapers and such, so it's a document that just has lots of emails and phone numbers in it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make a motion and then we can discuss it, anybody else? I'd like to make a motion
Oh, I've got a copy of
that
that.
and both Stan and I are trained in ICS 100, so either one of us can sign this. We went to the training a couple years ago.
You managed to stay away.
We managed to stay awake and find the place and get there and get done. So I'd like to make a motion for the board to approve the local emergency management plan and adopt it this evening, July 5th, 2023, allowing Dorothy Mangio to sign it. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Paul. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of having Dorothy Mangio sign the local emergency management plan adoption form for the town of Brookline signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. I will sign this now and get this sent out to them.
You made a comment earlier about Wyndham Regional having control over everything. Well, the seminar that I went to last week was put on by Alyssa Sabeto of Wyndham Regional Commission in conjunction apparently with the Emergency Management Office for the state of Vermont. So it's emergency management, but Wyndham Regional basically is keeping track of where the towns are on it. So that's another control. I don't know if it's control area, but coordinated with.
All right, that's done. I can see that's where I was worried about that back and forth, and it really wasn't as complicated. I didn't need to have to stress about it. Okay. Next item, daycare concerns regarding the broken pipe and aftermath of issues. We're just gonna make this summarize. I summarize. I spoke to the insurance company today.
Go for it.
And the insurance company said that we can certainly fill out a claim. I said we have approximately $1,500 in plumbing bills. We may have a disposal fee for the dump, and we have 10, maybe more hours of project of cleanup hours. So approximately around $2,000 or so.
Okay.
She said at least it would be reported and it would be worthwhile, and I'd be willing to do that. I sent a letter, which you all got a copy of where summarizing the incident. And I also communicated with Susie saying that we contacted the Vermont Department of Health. Person is on vacation. I wrote to her anyway. I asked Susie and Aaron and Olivia and Stephanie if they had any connections with state agencies with their daycare that they would like us to contact. I have not heard from any of them. So the building was closed. If the incident happened on Tuesday, June 20th. On the 21st, the plumbers came in and fixed it. And between the 21st and the 22nd, it was sanitized and cleaned. They decided to keep closed on Wednesday and Thursday. but reopened on Friday. I know there was some concern about people becoming sick and saying that it was due possibly to the contamination, but I went back in my emails and I noticed that Bruce has been saying that daycare, those kids have been getting sick and we'd like to do air purifiers. It probably has nothing to do with this. There's no circulating air from that basement to the classrooms. We use the hot air pumps and that's outside ventilation. So, right now, I'll let Bruce, that's where we're at right now. I'm gonna do an insurance claim. I'll wait for the Department of Ed, the Environmental Safety to contact me back. Bruce?
I just have one statement to make, I was for every day too, because I made up some keys for them that fit all the doors, which we never had before. Some had, some didn't. And I said, we're stuck for that. That has nothing to do with this. I went to see them today for that, and there was no mention of it. They had kids everywhere in the building. So if there was a super concern, it seems to have disappeared.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can depict it.
And the insurance people.
Not a word.
The insurance people said, agree with me that, that our policy does not cover insuring their inventory, their own policy should cover their own
Right.
inventory. And the loss of use of the building for, is something that they can buy a separate policy on.
Yeah.
And, they have been apprised of that when they first signed on as a tenant, that might be something they might want to do.
And also it has to be noted, I'm gonna say it right here and now, that man did an incredible job cleaning up that mess.
I have pictures, it's immaculate
He
down there. I
he
was
did
at
an
lunch.
incredible job. That thing was clean up. When
So
did
I
it-
have pictures and I've sent them off for
24
printing,
hours?
so they'll be printable pictures so that we'll have copies of that.
Great.
I wish they would keep that basin organized a little bit better. It's pretty much a. collective-
Better,
But it's still not.
but he had that done and cleaned up and ready to go. And I notified Stephanie 5 o'clock in the afternoon after he cleaned it up, went home for our select board meeting and said, you have any doubts, it's your call. You don't listen to plumbers, you don't listen to Mello, you don't listen to Mark or anybody else. It's your concern. If you don't want to open, that's your choice. All I'm saying is, we've done the job, we've cleaned the place. If you would like to come over and look at it, I also told them that I went up into the rooms to see if I smelled any sewage at all. And no,
And I did
And-
see Erin yesterday when I was posting the signage and I told her I inspected the whole building. And the upstairs classrooms are immaculate.
yeah.
Vacuum,
we
the
did that
sinks,
together.
beautiful, it's very, very clean. I'm very happy
Why
with
don't
the
we
upstairs.
look at it? Oh, you want to take pictures?
Hot air
You want
vents.
to see it?
I wanted to see the heat exchangers
Uh-huh.
and how they were set up.
Uh-huh.
So it was immaculate.
Yeah, I have some concerns about this,
Go ahead.
the daycare. And I mean, I'm
We had the
wondering
leases.
if the town has any kind of policy about what the future of these buildings that we administer. And as far as that school building, I mean, is there an intention that at some point the town's gonna be taking that over as the town offices and have the town meeting there? I mean, I'm
We
just,
do have town meeting there.
I know we have town meeting there, but I'm just getting at the point, my point is, from my standpoint, I think it would be good if we could somehow separate the meeting house from that building and possibly sell that building in the future.
That's a possibility. We've talked about, usually we talk about this when we're developing our lease.
So
Which is
that's
next year.
a future
Yeah,
discussion.
We've
talk
discussed
every
it.
time- Every time we go.
Because
through
this,
it.
this whole thing, I mean, to me, is an upset for people
Yes.
here. That's, is just, we really shouldn't have to deal with this. That's my.
Most,
opinion
most
about
towns don't.
it. Yeah, right.
We're a rarity.
Unfortunately.
In the
this-
past, there've been people who voiced that as select board members that,
Well,
you know,
I'm
so
just
it's, but
putting it out
that's got a
there that
point. We got a 3-year contract. So.
3 years, so when does it come up?
Next year, we have to, they have, if I have it right,
The
they
contract
have to
this year.
notify us by December of next year whether they're gonna sign a lease for
Yeah.
July 1st, 2025. Do I have that right,
I
Donna?
believe so, 2025, in
They have to notify us
from
6 months. in advance.
2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Right,
Is
yeah.
that they have a lease with us, and so 6 months before that,
They have to notify
we,
us.
we have to notify them, we're gonna offer them a lease. That they want a lease or we're going to offer them a lease.
And
So
it
that's 2025 is the date.
and it has that benefit of being in December. We've approached this before. That we're in budget season at that point. So if all of a sudden they say, we don't want the building, we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do with the building. In
Right.
terms of maintenance, in terms of
And closing it
everything
down.
else. And what we're gonna do.
But that
So
would be,
that works well, then. So that's next
That's in
20.
18 months, we gotta bring that,
2024.
come back up to that discussion or before.
I think, yeah, sometime there are enough people in town, as I've just gone through town, who at points have asked me, why are we doing this? And, you
Or
know,
who
so,
wants to buy a building? It's not something, it's a white elephant, really, to sell it.
but it has a value, you know,
Yeah,
I mean, there's been debate amongst us on the board, and this is not an issue we talked about.
Yeah, it's not for today, but.
Yeah.
But another time we need to
I'll
definitely
agree to let that go.
Okay,
So right now, it's paying for itself.
Oh, it's paying for
It's,
itself.
it's updating and upgrading it.
I think we've taken in over $200,000 in rent, and very little of it has actually gone to the town. It's gone pretty much to the building, if I'm not mistaken.
For the
And
most
I've gone
part,
back and looked through the records of the treasurer, and it's, you know, there isn't much that, you know, the town has gotten out of it.
Well,
This would be
yeah,
a time to make a change, but
well, it's gonna come-
but this current year, fiscal year, 100% of it goes to reducing the tax rate. So this is the rent,
we have to.
and it
determine-
goes to reducing the tax rate, so for that, so. mhm,
Next week.
here you
Okay,
go.
all right, Town of Brookline website, we already spoke about that. Follow up on the Brookline Meeting House Foundation project contract. Stan and I and Leanne met, we reviewed over some questions, pretty much now, they got Carrie to sign the RFP, she's sending that into the Caitlin Coughlin. and-
Caitlin Corkins.
Yeah, and we're okay right now, correct?
Yeah, well, as of this moment, we are. The thing that remains outstanding is until we get the agreement from
We can't-
the Vermont Historic Preservation Division, we cannot execute the contract. And I was concerned about the fact that we don't want to have Carrie sign the contract
And then.
and not have it dated, and then have the agreement, and then having to fill in the date. So we'd rather have it be logical, realistic, and accurate. So when we get when we're just waiting for the agreement now from up north from the state.
And then. we'll do
And then,
this.
but we got an iron out. There's a very valid concern that just in case you want to know or need to know, which is probably the case, in case you hear of it elsewhere. The description of how to account for the completion and payment of the work on the building is a little vague. So Leanne called and spoke with me, and I was kind of thinking in terms of what do I see in my banking aspect of things, and she has a very valid point. Well, it's not a bank, it is a state agency, and it wouldn't it be easier if we did it a certain way? So the agreement was, or the decision, informal as it was that Leanne is going to contact that agency and find out specifically the process for completing it and paying out and getting reimbursed for the money. And based on what she is told, we'll then be able to complete the contract regarding how we end up paying for it. So it doesn't put Gary through a lot of extra work or us through a lot of extra work. If he just bills us and says, I've completed it, I want my 29.8, is that going to be enough, or does he have to provide us with invoices for materials, employees,
Doesn't
and all
appear
that?
that's
We
the
don't
case.
know. So it's coming to a conclusion soon, which is a little bit of information that we need to do that. So it won't be long. And I hate to say this, but a lot of the thus far delay has been the agency and then getting people to sign documents.
Yeah,
That doesn't seem to
Chasing
happen
people
as
down.
readily as it should.
it's not been smooth.
So if you can't do B until you get A done, and the A person doesn't cooperate with A,
it looks like somebody's procrastinating.
Mm,
Okay, so now we're gonna move on, unless I need anything else. Okay, fundraising guidelines in front of you. You have an updated fundraising policy that I'd like to, if you haven't took a chance, I modified it with of the changes that were suggested at the last meeting.
Well done, I like it, it's good.
yeah. That looked good.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Town of Brookline, Vermont fundraising policy. May I have a second?
Second,
Seconded by Stan Noga. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the fundraising policy as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Thank you. I'll ask Guy to post that policy and it will become part of our guidelines as we move forward throughout the year. Okay, F has been tabled, G, FEMA. I sort of was saying that tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, there's a Zoom meeting with the FEMA representatives. It's a half an hour meeting. I'm gonna be I sent to them already the RFP for the paving project, which we approved at the last meeting, and the bid amount of $17,000. I sent them the RFP for the culvert project that we just awarded tonight. I will be able to tell them, tomorrow that it's another $17,380 cost. And so then all we have left to do is to finish the ditching between the upper culverts on the side of the road, which is a mitigation request, a suggestion from them, and the work on the culverts 13 and 14 on Bennett Road, adding ground material to cause the crown, and then moving the culvert and doing the side road work for Holland Hill. Now, Mark, this is where I need to know from you, what are you doing right now regarding FEMA?
Lining ditches that
But, you know.
were mitigation. So those will be done very soon, and I'll skip over to Holland Hill and Bennett Road and think that.
What are we doing about the head walls? What are we doing?
We're gonna go with concrete.
Prefab or in place?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with prefab.
Okay, so we're gonna discuss that. I don't know if you're available. 10 o'clock tomorrow. And what else do you wanna, on that?
yes, I had 4 questions going into this morning. And one of them was just pinpointing what the discrepancies were, other than, so that's one. We have a contract that we just completed, I almost got done today, but it'll be tomorrow, for Bazin Brothers. And in their response to the RFP, they responded to paving of Putney Mountain Road for $17,000. They responded to the fixing of the potholes for $13,200, and they've got this $2,000 mobilization fee. And Dot had asked me to look into it with Bazin, and I was about to do that when I realized, this reminds me of the situation we're in with the Vermont Historic Preservation Committee. We're trying to decide what date to have Carrie put on the form, and it's the agency that's going to tell us what
Well,
date.
I
on.
did write to Patrick.
You
and
did.
But I said, here's the RFP. We're not
Right.
sure how to apply the mobilization. What would your suggestion, what would you suggest we can talk about this on Thursday?
Good.
Just,
I called him today too.
oh,
I
good.
left a message on his
Yeah.
phone with these 4 things. That was one of them.
Okay.
How do we handle it? And then the other thing was, there was two other issues I've had. One was at the last select board meeting, you were kind enough to advise us that there's a quick way to get FEMA money. It won't take long after a certain point. I wanted to ask him today, maybe we can do it tomorrow. What is that process that gets us the money as quickly as possible?
When we close the
When we
project.
close the project, how long does it take? Is it 3 months, 6 months?
Doesn't take.
Does it take somebody sitting down at a desk who's never at that desk to fill it out? What?
Listen, this is where Melissa's adept because she's done it all. Samara made the point. She said to me, I don't know why Melissa's not doing it. Especially in light that she's been doing it and has gotten all the money back. $400,000 or $500,000 from the state for new thing. So she knows what to do. We just need to complete the project.
We need to complete the project. What I'm concerned about now is that we make sure that we get reimbursed for all of Mark's hours for the things that he's doing, not on the project, but even he's attending administrative hours that he gets paid as well. So I know I've collected, you know, like for instance,
Yeah.
When Mark's, the most recent payroll, he highlighted, he did
Yeah,
FEMA hours and not. I want Melissa and Judy to put together that package. I think that's what their job is, what you're saying. They need to go through their files.
All right,
And that's any discrepancies we can figure there.
And I believe she'll make it. Impression I got from the conversation with her at her town office was she can really make this expedient. She's done it.
Yeah, I know that, you know, if in any agency, if you do the work the way they want it, they're just gonna process it and do it. And if the issue often results in, when you get all that data, it's sitting down and doing what you need to do to submit it to get paid. And it seems like it's going to be, it's almost looks like a standard operating procedure that she's used to. And we're so lucky to have someone who's gone
Oh,
through it.
boy.
So this is all looking good, I think, at this
Yeah.
point. So that was one of the things I asked him I wanted to address. The last thing I wanted to address with him is I feel awkward and wasting time if we can't have a process where we're able to get back to him readily. So I asked him about the portal. And I asked him essentially, is there a way of we entering data in the portal that doesn't disrupt anything he or his staff has entered, but is out here as a separate item that he looks at or they look at and coordinate with what they have? If they need feedback from us, contact us either through the portal or some other way, so that there's constant going and we let this thing get done and over with quickly,
Well,
rather than sit and wait. You know, that's not a criticism. I don't like,
No, it's
I
not.
like to deal with things if I can.
Right.
And the issue is there a faster way than waiting the 2 or 3 weeks we have to talk to these people on a, you know, Zoom meeting? So,
Yeah.
so I thought I'd ask those 4 questions. And it sounds like we're on the same path.
Yeah.
We can find out tomorrow, and if we can get this
Also-
moving, great.
I guess
Also-
I'm gonna cut before I lose the trend of thought, because remember we talked about the discrepancies. The discrepancies show up in the estimates. If they're gonna go by our actual billing, we have no discrepancies to worry about because we're saying it costs this amount, that's how much we paid, that's how 90% back,
Right.
okay? It's the estimates, and they're saying
Right.
one tube versus 2 tubes, you know,
Well,
it's their
I
estimate.
wonder if we can ask, are we at the point where you no longer have to pay attention to the estimates? You can look at the
True,
quotes.
except for now, all we have to do is get to finish with the ditching volume, material costs, man labor, and then the other side of the mountain, Holland Hill and Bennett Road. To the done,
Yeah.
It's at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah,
10 o'clock.
And you sent the Zoom number out? Or didn't you?
I had an email a while ago.
Okay. All right.
So-
I like that, yeah.
I mean, we'll be
so
there.
I'm hopeful that after tomorrow, we will have
Curious.
a path to expediency, and we're at the point where the work's gonna be done anyway. So it appears that by just virtue of time and effort, it's gonna happen.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right, let's move along here. 10 o'clock, building commissioner Bruce.
I have nothing else to offer other than what we've discussed about the work that was done to, in the mess that happened back on the 20, whatever it was.
Okay. All right, highway grants, contract stand, I think.
Yeah, I've got about 5 or 6 things to go through. As I mentioned earlier, we're waiting for Wyndham Regional, Jeff Nugent and Lisa Donnelly to indicate what segment we are to do. I think Mark and Archie and probably Dot and myself will get copies of whatever they send. And then it's just a matter of us to decide. I don't know if they'll give us a choice or whether they'll just tell us, what have they done in the past, Mark?
Jeff Lucian came out and rode with me, and I think I kind of told him the area I wanted to work, and he started measuring segments.
Okay.
and told me how it should look.
All right, so I guess something like that's gonna happen again?
Yeah.
They know we're under the gun. She said in her email to me the day after we met she says, I'll have this for you in a few days. So if we count today as one of those, that should be tomorrow or Friday.
So when we went out and did site visiting, I showed her things that she said would fit better in a different grant. So we kept looking, and she liked certain areas that we went by that were, because she did her and Jeff did this erosion inventory. They kind of know what's priority and what's not. So as we were going by Kirsch Road, she did a lot of notes on Kirsch Road. So it sounds like we may be doing Kirsch Road to bring that one up.
Okay,
But in the meantime, everything I showed her, we didn't get done till 5:30 that evening. And she went down and I got an email, I was just reading through it came this afternoon. Colin Bratton. who
yes,
on your team wants to do some more site visits to the areas that I proposed. Because some of the segments has been partially done. They want to put it into a different grant.
Yeah.
Separate it from the road
I don't know if it's
segment.
Better Back Roads or something like that.
Right,
But yeah, I got the copy of the email as well.
okay.
Thank you for bringing it up because you've taken it. I don't need to talk about it now. We're gonna meet apparently with him, with
Just wanted to clarify, Colin has asked for the time to meet with me to show him those same sites and he can investigate the cost and analysis of what it would take to bring those back.
Right, sounds like he's got particular grants in mind to do this.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we may have some work to do there.
yeah, it may open up another good opportunity.
Okay, good enough.
Next week should be the meeting and we'll work.
The next one is BRIC, BRIC for the minute taker, for Vanessa's benefit. There's a quarterly report that's due by the 30th of July. And I will have that completed this week, by the end of the week, and sent it in.
Okay,
It's not on any calendar other than my mental one and see, okay, so the next item is the AN as in Nancy R annual report,
natural resources.
Agency of Natural Resources. Also monitored by Wyndham Regional Commission. Now, back earlier this year, when the board was trying to get a handle on making sure that our fees and annual reports were submitted in a timely fashion, because it turned out that over the past several years, there have been years where the fee's been paid and the report not submitted, or the report submitted and the fee's not paid. There's one time we paid 2 years of fees in a row in order to bring us back into compliance. So Melissa and the board didn't want to get on the wrong side of anybody earlier this year. So before town meeting even happened, Melissa paid the fees. She prepared the form. I think she signed it. You were going to, but she signed it and she sent it along. So we should be right up there, even with the way the status of the game is this day. Well, Jeff Nugent last week, in the meeting that Mark and I had with him, advised us that our annual report had not been submitted. So I tried to find it on my computer because I try to keep a copy of everything. I couldn't find it. And then took a look under another area of my hard drive directory. I couldn't find it again. So I emailed Melissa a day or two ago and asked her if she had her copy, because she sent me it. After she filled it out, she sent me it. And she realized, she sent me something and then I responded, it for whatever reason, it appears, and she confirmed this today, the report that she sent in is in their system, but it's not showing up as we're current with that filing. So she has contacted the appropriate party to investigate it. They're going to look into it today. I would expect by the end of the week, if not tomorrow. it will be rectified. It was filed on time, and so there'll be no adverse influence on us at all from that. So that's the A&R
Yeah.
annual report. We just talked about the GIA and Lisa Donnelly and Mark's coordinating that. Let's see, we talked about FEMA. Is there anything else? The Bazin Brother contract, as I said, it's almost done. After our meeting tomorrow, and he tells us how to handle that, I'll know if I have to build that in anywhere into the contract in terms of that $2,000 activation fee.
Right.
So we're about there. We're almost pretty much up to date on everything that we are working on.
You did have a copy of his do not includes in the contracts. He doesn't want a section that says,
No, I don't have this.
all right, I'll get you,
Thank you.
it came together, but yeah.
You want me? I can run out and make a copy.
Okay,
That'll save you some time.
okay. All right, that's the only thing that I saw on there that he had some limitations on his contract. Just pretty sure everybody got that night. All right. Energy report, I think we don't have any right now.
No,
We're
next
good?
meeting is on the 14th.
Okay,
do have a
July
question,
14th, okay.
When do I have to submit the agenda before that meeting?
48
40
hours ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna send out an email to everybody.
Thank you.
I need notice of the following. Okay.
Okay,
Any add-ons?
all right,
Okay.
all right, Paul, 911,
Yeah, there's just a few things, the kiosk on Windmill Hill Trail, which had formerly been 870 Grassy Brook Road on the 911 has been changed to 7 Wyndham Hill Trail.
so we need a new sign, you're saying?
What's that?
We need a new street sign?
No, we don't need a new street sign, but they do need to indicate that. I mean, this is the Putney Mountain Association runs that, and they need to change their. Yeah, right. And it's also on the kiosk. It's written, it's 870 Grassy Brook Road. So this came from Tyler Hermanson saying that this needed to be rectified. Now, I've emailed, the Putney Mountain Association, whoever I don't remember the guy's name, the contact guy there, and I have not heard from him. I looked at their website today and saw that there was no change, but it is changed on the 911 map, if you go to that.
Okay.
So that part, is done. There's also an issue then possibly with the people who 868, because they're, with what the 911 people are saying is that they should have a Windmill Hill Trail address as well. I spoke with them, or the woman, I guess, who owns the property, one of the owners, and she was reluctant to have an address change. And she showed me that there was access from Grassy Brook Road to their property. But if you look at that access, it looks like it's a road straight going to nowhere, and the house is way off to the side. I'm going to photograph it and send it to the 911 people and see what they say about that. Along with that, there was also a change to the gravel pit on Grassy Brook Road, which was, I believe, Mark, you were going to order a sign.
Yeah,
Is that up? Or?
I haven't placed the order yet. I was just. I
Okay,
just got the last thing from the last order.
So it should be 322 Grassy Brook Road. Now, the thing there is, I guess the rule for the 911 people is if there's more than 2 addresses, that they have to really change the name of the road. But in this case, because it's a gravel pit. And their concern was that at some point in the future, there may be a different access, or it may close completely. They didn't want to go through the whole renaming of a road and all that, and so they just said, they suggested, we'll just make it 322. And if we're okay with it, they're okay with it. So that's the gravel pit. Now, there's one other issue, and that is that, and this is something that I think maybe we could address when we send out the tax bill, is to put a notice in there saying that people should have their property clearly marked. Because there are a few places where there's, a driveway with no marking as to what it is, and it'd be strictly for your safety that your house have, the address marked clearly.
Yeah.
In the Berkshires, the town pays for everybody to have a 911 address placard outside their driveway. It'd be sort of expensive to do, but even like my mailbox or your mailbox, it could be. So I don't know, the tax bill, I don't remember that, but that would.
Well, it would be, we'll have to word
Yeah.
something like,
A letter.
make sure your property is properly.
Yeah, that way if an ambulance is coming and they're looking for a number,
Exactly.
they can go right
Yeah.
by.
They're gonna see it, yeah.
Wyndham has got those nice bright yellow metal signs with the, I think, reflective white numbers. They required on every property. in town.
That's a zoning thing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Not 911.
It's, well, the part of their zoning laws are to have every property 911 address. So that's how they got it. That's why, when I was
Interesting.
doing this, reading about it and
That's good to know.
part of zoning.
When I called to have the recycling exchange when it's full, it's now under new ownership, it's Casellas now.
Yes.
Instead of Triple D, and the new secretary or whatever, when I asked for an exchange, they said, well, what's the address? And I say, oh, it's Grassy Brook near the intersection of Hillary. So
It needs a
was it needed enough, or just go with that? The truck driver found it a couple of times, so I'm thinking. Probably it's.
Oh, we can probably get them on the direct. Yeah,
Yeah, put that on your list and read all
Because.
that.
Yeah.
Hill Road and
Just
Grassy
for
Brook Road,
fun.
Yeah.
intersections.
well, I mean, it should have a Windmill Hill address. I mean, not Windmill Hill.
Grassy
Grassy
Brook
Brook
Road.
address.
The mileage from Route 30 in, say, near the intersection.
And the baseball field, does that need an address?
They could probably share
Is
the
it the same address?
recycle bin and. I mean, the access is there at both of them, you have to go into one to get to the other.
Right.
But
Windmill Hill, that's
Trail.
not
Windmill Hill Trail.
Windmill Hill Trail. It is a trail. It's not a town road or a class 4 road or anything
Oh,
like that.
It's a trail.
It's a trail.
I thought the town has a right of way there.
yeah, I believe it's.
My guess is, wait, you haven't pulled the deed on that?
What?
Have you pulled the deed on it and read the deed
On what?
on the house that
No.
claims to have, okay.
I mean,
So if it's, I guess what does the town really own it? I'm assuming it does. Seems like years ago, we had a discussion with Mr. Solomon about it. He was concerned about the actual trail being graded properly with the proper water, redirecting the water off the side instead of letting it wash out the road and so, and I remember walking it. And I don't think I questioned it at the time, but we weren't looking at 911 addresses. I'm just wondering why it wouldn't, that house wouldn't be simply X Grassy Brook Road instead of Windmill. Is it a 911 regulation or a state regulation or?
they're looking at the access to the house and their access, their driveway goes to Windmill Hill Trail. It doesn't go to Grassy Brook Road. So that's their reasoning.
Okay,
I mean, if you look at the map, and, I can send you the link.
Yeah, no,
I don't know if you know
I just assumed that right away was there. Maybe even before
The
the
trail.
trail was there,
There,
and
yes.
that may not be the case. I know the house is newer than that.
As I recall, with Norm, Solomon had that building built. And there was some deal, I think, with the select board even at that time. I mean, probably would be worth taking a look at that and seeing.
If there was a formal contract or
Yeah,
understanding, it would be probably in the registry of deeds.
I mean, the woman that I talked to at 868 said that she had some paper that was written on the back of something that, that's what Norm gave her as to
That happens in
How-
Brookline. I run into
how,
that.
how the thing,
No.
deed was, how it was done.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I take
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, thank you for following up on all that. I know that was getting a little delinquent, and that's why it piled up with several of these numbers not being there. But thank you, Paul, for thinking over it. I appreciate that. I never got to really do it justice. All right, no town clerk report. Very quickly, select board chair report. Just wanted to let you know, we still haven't gotten any information about the grand list. I don't know when the tax bill is going out. I told you about the insurance, Susie's Little Peanuts. I also talked to our insurance carrier to see if we needed to get any additional coverage for the town party on the 22nd. She interviewed me extensively about alcohol and vendors and that. And I said, no, it's Julia and Stu and I making hot dogs and so-and-so playing the piano or this, that. She goes, no problem, you're covered. It's fine, you're not hiring in, you're not serving alcohol, you're not having a bouncy house or anything like that, so we're covered, that's fine. And last thing is, Sherry's been working on our files.
Oh, yeah?
She's got about 89% done, all color coordinated.
Really?
It's been pulling it all together. She's got some extra stuff. There are some boxes here. At some point, we need to review to see about archiving it. We could talk at another time about, Guy's gonna check about what the law is on getting rid of some of these things, but there's a lot that we don't need things from 1974 town, compensation rates and things like that from old books. So boy, I feel a lot better. So she's been working on it and probably will be finished next week, she thought. So be very quick. That's it. Any other topics or discussions from the select board members that do not require a vote at this time? Yes, sir. He had his hand up first. I said,
Okay, all right. It is July 1, and it's the annual time to report our savings and benefits and personnel and all that for the VLCT report.
yes.
So,
Emailed Melissa
You
and
did.
I got a postcard and I wrote out, Melissa, take care of this, please. And I
Thank
just
you.
put it in there before the meeting
Thank you.
started. Yes, sir.
I got this back in my,
It was in the mailbox.
yes, because I had, the way this is left, Judy asked us to consider getting her chairs. And she came up with this, I think, pretty pricey chairs. Samara and I spoke about it shortly, not much over. And she seems to think we can do a lot better than this kind of money. So I think what we need to do is put it on the agenda for next time and have a discussion about it. What we're gonna do about it.
We just need, it's a supply. You just go to Staples and, pick them out.
It's not me.
I mean, I donated one of my chairs here
Well, what I'm
because I
saying
felt
is-
they were sitting on.
I can, what is comfortable for me or Samara or you or anyone else might not be comfortable for her. I asked her to look into it and she came up with this. So I don't see as whereas $500 to $700 a chair is a really good idea. And according to Samara, she thought it was a bit pricey. If she wasn't happy, she thought that we could do it much better. I guess rather.
I was thinking
I'm
less than
trying to-
$200 for a chair.
I don't know, from what I understand, this is a different chair than what we're sitting in
This is
now.
a conference chair.
Right,
These are
that's-
ergonomic chairs.
Right, so this isn't something I've done before.
Is there a physical disability or need that a pain or discomfort? that
She
needs
hasn't
to be-
stated other than comfort, I think. She hasn't said, oh, my back's killing me, or my legs are driving me crazy.
All right,
She hasn't, she hasn't put them.
I'll make a note here. I'll see. So Judy, give me a little bit more information about your chair needs because we can't afford a $700,
That's
$500
that's a
chair.
lot of money.
All right,
And we
you want to
do
be on
one,
the
we're
agenda.
gonna have to do two. Don't you
Okay.
think? Right, John?
Working chairs. so-
Can you price that same chair on Amazon, just do different?
No, I haven't tried that. My
That's a good
Amazon
idea.
Prime
That's a
never
good
lets me
idea.
down.
All right, so I'll just close the record.
Excellent.
Okay, all right, chairs. Communications, emails, I think we shared most of the emails, let's try to send them out. Oh, I know, sorry, I got back there. There we go. Municipal Energy Resilient Program, mini grant response was submitted, they received that. Green Mountain Power recently filed a request for a change in base rates to be reviewed by the Vermont Public Utility Commission.
So,
You can file comments if anybody wants information about filing comments. The municipal assistance program summary is here that we received that. This is what the MCA, this is what we just talked about, Wyndham Regional. And that's all I have as far as mail goes in that respect. Okay, agenda for the next meeting on July 19th. We will talk about the website. We will do a FEMA update. We could talk about the segments or anything else that we have in shares. Okay, we do have a meeting scheduled for 4:30 on Tuesday, July 11th, and that will cover ARPA. I would like to also talk about the FEMA results, ARPA, FEMA. And what was the other word? Oh, stop, Alexa, go to sleep. ARPA, FEMA, and the excavator. And taxes in lieu of, and talk about tax, a loan in,
You're gonna need. by this
Excavator
week-
loan or loan for borrowing purposes?
anticipation of taxes,
Tax.
just discuss that. Okay, so I'll see if I can get any information from Melissa beforehand.
So she did the budget and spreadsheets financials as of 6:30 on 7/1, correct? And
I
she
did
sent
not
it to us?
Get it?
I haven't got any.
Okay, I thought she had sent, she sent something to me saying financials for
I didn't get it.
6:30, end of year. I'll send it to you all if I
All
got
right,
it.
I was,
All I got was the payroll.
yeah, and because I was going
The
through this,
accounts.
and I'd like to talk about that as well. Okay, anything else?
To cut off for an agenda for Tuesday. Who you are.
Tuesday's agenda, well, I can do I'm gonna do the agenda, right?
So I'm not.
Okay. Look, so what is today, the 5th? If it's Tuesday, I need to have the agenda out on Sunday,
Okay. Okay, thought I wanted to ask, okay,
okay?
Mhm.
On the
Is
9th,
that you'll have whatever your data is?
yeah, I'm gonna try to.
okay. All right, at this time, I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting. Second it. 8:48, 8:58.
This meeting was recorded by Falls Area Community Television, located at 1 Hospital Court, Bellows Falls, Vermont. If you would like a copy of the meeting, our phone number is 802-463-1613 or email us at fact810@gmail.com. Falls Area Community TV, keeping government honest.